Great.
Hello, Melinda.
Hey, Dean, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. This is an awesome opportunity, I think, under harsh conditions and challenges that we've never seen before and never felt. But I think this is part of what we want to try and do is get out into the swimming community and help out with things. I'm here with, first of all, I'm Dean Boles. I work for Swim Ontario. I'm the CEO, and I have Melinda Harrison here, who's I'll just read a little bit, but it's coach, Olympian, and author, but also entrepreneur, parent of an excellent driven, high-achieving children, and a former swim club president. So you come with a huge amount of experience, insight that I think will lend itself very well at a time like this. We'll talk a little bit about what your research has been. We'll talk a little bit about what tools that can maybe be put out there to the swimmers and to the coaches and maybe perhaps to the parents. And so I think we're just going to have some discussion around that. And but before I get into that, so welcome, Melinda. I knew you as Melinda Kopp, 1984 Olympian, and then I knew you as the mom of a swimmer, and obviously it's been a great relationship and I've been very fortunate to be a part of your journey of all your developments and things like that. So thank you for being a part of what we want to try and convey out to the swimming community.
Thanks, Dean. And as I said to you earlier on in a call prepping for this, I'm so excited to be involved in Swim Ontario. I have been involved as a club president, and you and I have worked together on a few different projects, but most importantly, or not most importantly, but you were deeply influential in this idea that how do we look at a personal best and then how do we transfer that to a personal next? And you read the initial manuscript of my book, which I was so grateful for. And then we continued to have these conversations about the topics that I present in my book. And one of the great awarenesses that came out of this research is that things that you do to get to a personal best are in many cases replicated in a personal next. So why don't we look at those things and try and pass those messages on to our stakeholders?
Exactly, perfectly. That's when we're ramping up where we are today, I thought of you and I reached out to you, and I've reached out to other individuals that can bring a great perspective to this whole because we're in search of some balance and some grounding and some good insight and wisdom in a lot of ways, and this is all part of what we've been trying to do. Before we get a little bit deeper into what we're going to talk about, I just want to tell the Ontario swimming community and maybe the Canadian swimming community that I was probably no prouder to be a Canadian than I was earlier this week when the Canadian Olympic Committee took a strong, bold stand with the IOC and said, we will not be sending our athletes to the Summer Olympics in July because it's just not safe. And that really pushed the boundaries and pushed the envelope and and pulled the IOC and the rest of the world to actually come up in a short few days rather than a few weeks to where we are today. And I think that was really outstanding. That's what Canadians are about, but that's also what the sport does. It allows us to really jump out and I was on a call yesterday with most of the Canadian swim team coaches and things like that, and listened to what Swimming Canada is doing, and they really are taking the look at the best interest of the athletes and the best interest for the sport and everybody that's associated with that. And you know a little bit about this type of point back in your swimming career.
I do. So first of all, I too am so proud to be Canadian and so proud of the decision and them standing up to what was right for the athlete. I think it's really important in this chaos is to remain positive. I think by the Canadian Olympic Committee taking the stance, they removed an immense amount of anxiety for our athletes at all levels. whether you qualified for the Olympic trials and that was your peak performance, or that was going to be your peak performance, or you're in the running for the Olympic Games. So way to go, Canada. As we say in the stands, go Canada, go.
Exactly. That's great.
So I just want to tell just a brief little story to your athletes, because it was a learning moment for me and something I've carried forward for the rest of my life. So 1980, I was involved in part of the boycott, and it was because Russia had invaded Afghanistan, and the U.S. and Canadian governments said, "We're not going." Another stand they took. So I was a senior in high school, 16, 17, and I took my foot off the brake. Hence, I didn't make the Olympic team. We had an Olympic trials that named a team, and I didn't make it, probably because I took my foot off the brake. So I'm encouraging all your athletes right now to take this little pause that you have, do what you can, but once you get going again, don't take your foot off the brake. You can do it. You've done it before, and you can do it again.
Great advice. And that was what was shared by John Atkinson, the high performance director for Swimming Canada, was that use this maybe as a bit of a break, or maybe a pre-summer break or a pre-season break, and just get yourself grounded, and then start it up when we start to get the green light to move forward. And that, I think you're so right that one is to take that somewhat pause, but not to throw things away. I think that's one of the exact things. Do not throw things away, and keep things in perspective. And this is what I'm really excited about, what we're going to talk about. From a Swimming Ontario point of view, we've been working as much as everybody else, staying abreast of everything that's coming out within the community, within the province, within the country. And we're adhering to all those things. We're advising our membership. On our webpage, we have a COVID-19 button on our webpage that has all the most pertinent links, pertinent information. We've actually brought in some legal consultants around insurance, around our employment agreements, to help the clubs manage their time, take their, do their due diligence in assessing their situation, make good decisions along the way. And we've been trying to work at that part. And then the other piece is that we have a page or a tab that's around what we call the digital experience. And this is part of it, that we know that the coaches are really looking towards trying to be engaged with their athletes, even though everybody is at home. That's where we should be. And we want to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And we all share that. And the coaches are reaching out to their athletes through virtual training sessions or links or any of that nature, which is great. But we also need to think about the other pieces of the puzzle that is very, very important, such as nutrition, such as this is a great time to rehab. This is a great time to take a pause, as you're saying, and actually do some of the things that we maybe haven't done as well as we should. And this is a great thing. And I think out of something bad, always something good happens. And I think what this will be, a lot of lessons learned, but a lot of things going forward that are going to make us that much better because we've had a chance such as this. And so just saying that everybody's working towards a common vision, a common goal of this. And we just want to try and do somewhat of an Ontario-made version of things. We're going to work with some of our other sport partners to create some information guides. But really pleased to have you here, Melinda. And
Thank you.
And I've been, catching up on some of your tools. The information that you have gathered over the years is incredible, and I can't wait to hear what you can share with us.
Thank you very much. I think we also need to be very grateful. I think we need to pause and think about what is good in our life right now, because even though there is a lot of chaos out there, and I just actually posted a blog on that on my website, Chaos and Control, Can We Experience Both? We do need to keep in mind that the swimming community is a supportive community that wants the best for you. And so one of the tricks that somebody passed on to me was, when you're washing your hands, you're supposed to wash your hands for 20 seconds every time, at least once a day. Instead of singing happy birthday, name 3 things that you're grateful for.
That's great. That's great advice. You're right. We do need to take pause on that. And you know, same thing is that if you have someone that's on the front lines, if you know someone like that, you know, try and reach out to them and say thank you.
Right.
I think we all want to try and have that voice. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. And I think those are all the little things. And reach out to be a good teammate. Maybe you're not you know, maybe you'll have a new teammate after all this. I don't know. But I think these are all little things that we're going to come through with.
Okay, so those are great things. So I'd like to just spend a minute running through some of the potential topics that we might talk about. And as I said earlier, this was all driven from the research I did. I started in 2014 with a goal to interview 100 people. I didn't know how I could find 100 people, but I was going to find 100 people. Again, once an athlete, always an athlete mindset. And the criteria for the interviews were people that had reached a personal best, a significant personal best, of which 79 of those individuals were elite athletes. And I didn't just stick with swimming. I had 24 different sports that I interviewed, from a Stanley Cup champion all the way down to the elite college athlete. And then the second criteria is that they had to have developed a personal next. So something after their peak performance that was meaningful to them. And what I didn't realize when I started this, there's a lot of things I didn't realize, but one of the most interesting things that came out of these interviews was that journey to the personal best. And what people that had succeeded at that and then succeeded again, what were some of the same things that they did? And so this slide that I'm going to put up are some of the things that they did that I think is really important to share with the swimming community. So let me just click on this for a second, share my screen. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Just going to move us up here in case it's recording you and I. So the first thing is that they use this athlete DNA, and we're going to dive into that in our first video because I think it's a really important place to start. But they also were conscious of what joy was, and not just wins, true joy. They had a deep self-awareness, so I want to talk about that. They understood choice. And as athletes, we can go on athlete autopilot. So that's another topic. They were able to deal with change and uncertainty. Not always right away, but they got through that experience, what I call the messy middle, and dealt with that change and uncertainty. They were able to distinguish between being a human being and a human doing. They also were able to, again, after they got through that chaotic, messy middle, able to distinguish facts from fiction. So is this true? They understood what lane they were in, and they all had these 9 practices of high performers. So over the next few weeks, these are some of the topics that I suggest we talk about.
I think it's great. I think it's so fitting. As I said, you know, following your progress and your process was that there were things that were pertinent to the ones that are actually in action right now, not just the ones that are thinking about the exit process. And I think it's great that this is coming to the forefront, and really appreciate how you frame things, how you phrase things. It's really, it's a refreshing way of looking at it, and I think it's going to catch some people in a good spot.
Great. Well, I look forward to working on them. Just for the athletes to know, our goal, I think, Dean, is for you and I to work together on this, similar to what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
And I really want to try and keep these to, 8 to 10 minutes, no more. Some of them might only be 5 minutes, because I know that we're so busy and in information overload. And also, I don't want our athletes online all the time. So by getting the point across quickly and succinctly, I think we can make a difference, but we're not going to overwhelm you with too much. That's why I call them coaching moments. This isn't a coaching session that I do with my one-on-one clients. This is an opportunity for you to grab some information and go, how can I apply that to me to be the best I can as I move forward in my swimming career?
So a little bit of reflection or maybe a lot of reflection is involved in this.
Right, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you.
That's right.
And it's important that my view of the world is applied to your situation, not my view of the world, and this is how I would apply it. You need to apply the information yourself.
Yeah. Perfect.
Great.
No, I really like that. That's I think this is going to be wonderful. I think this is going to, once people sort of get their eyes and hands on this and make their way through this, I think it's going to be quite helpful.
Excellent. So just for those who want to have a little bit more information, one of the things that I'm doing every week, every Thursday, is producing this coaching tip. And as I said, this week is on chaos and control. Can we experience both at the same time? And this is a topic, not all topics are applicable to athletes or coaches. Well, they all be applicable to the coaches and the parents. Some of them are driven to my executive clients, but I think that the idea here is that it's a under 600 word tip that will just make you more aware. And so this one actually is very applicable to the swimming community at all levels. So if you go to melindaharrison.com/tips, you can get a coaching tip delivered to your mailbox, or you can just check it out every once in a while.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful.
Also, if one of your coaches wants to connect with me on one of the topics, then there's my email details.
Beautiful. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. Well, thank you so much. Do we want to touch on anything else, or do we want to just leave it at this?
Just zip to again. There we go.
Okay.
So
here we go. Now we're getting there.
Yes. So let's move us up here. Hang on a second. No, not a good place. There we are. So this is going to be our first conversation. And so I'm just putting it up here for you to take a look at it and say, what is that athlete DNA? And the most important thing about this athlete DNA, it has nothing to do with how you do a flip turn. I am not a coach. I've been involved in swimming a long time, and I've watched swimming, and I was a swimmer. I'm now a swimmer, but I'm not a coach. That is not the lane that I play in. But during the athletic journey, you gain these competencies. And I think that this is what you're going to carry forward for the rest of your life. And so what I want to do in our first coaching moment is to discuss this.
Okay. I think that'll be great. I just had a little note that I picked up on various calls that I've been on, and it's amazing when you take the time to listen to what's being said and the takeaways. And one is that it's very clear and concise, the messaging, but this is a notion how sport needs to be the positive force that will inspire the community to heal. And sport will be part of the healing for the community, the province, and the country. And that's how important sport is. So if we get some tools in the hands of our athletes, our coaches, our parents, our volunteers, that's what sport is, what's going to, and I really do believe that's what the Olympic movement is going to, this is their chance to actually shine under harsh conditions and situations that actually, that idea of humanity is going to come back into the Olympic Games. And we're all part of that. And this is a great step for that. So thank you very much, Melinda.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, and look forward to the next few weeks of working with you. It's going to be great for me, and it's going to be great for all our followers. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye.